morning or afternoon, depending where you're at, and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate, brought to you by Fantasy Focused and the Original Hooters. Tate and I are super stoked to be joined by special guest Lauren Carpenter, as you guys might know her on Twitter at Stepmom Lauren. We've got her in today. How are you?
I am really great. Thank you. Of course, I'm enjoying this beautiful weather outside, and I say that because it's like the temperature of hell. It is so hot in Florida. It is disgusting. So I am very happy to be inside talking with you guys, and I'm super excited. This is so much fun already.
If we had a soundboard, this is the part where we click the button where the audience loses their shit. We're happy to have you.
I know. When I was lucky enough to get you on for the all women podcast, I did it like the beginning of quarantine, which feels like forever ago.
I know.
Which was so much fun. I had you on, and then of all the guests, we had so many amazing guests. Tate and everyone at Fantasy Focus, they were like, we need Lauren on again. Lauren was friggin' fantastic. They loved you the most of everyone. So
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Infectious energy that either drives people crazy. They're like, get this girl out. I don't know what drugs she did before she came in this room, but this is ridiculous. Oh, they're like, wow, positive energy. I like it. But there's really no middle ground there. No.
That's okay. I would rather be a divisive person like that and just, get the people that are my people that love me. And then if you can't handle it, just get out.
Exactly. That's why we survive in a world of fantasy football.
Think Chris Farley from Chippendale Saturday Night Live type energy. That's the type energy that you bring.
I do. I am very much Chris Farley, especially after Thanksgiving. It's bad.
I would just go with the energy portion.
All right, my bad.
Of Chris Farley reference. But let's go forward. You and I both have drafts in the Scott Fish Bowl. Which league are you in, by the way?
I'm in Cabbage Patch.
Cabbage Patch.
Okay. Purposefully. I chose Cabbage Patch. It was my favorite toy growing up. So I was like, I have to do it. Cabbage Patch all the way.
I mean, I think I was just late in all of my responses, and I feel so bad. And Scott Fish is so fantastic at reaching out to me and getting me in. He's like, Sam, are you doing it still? I'm like, yes. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Like, your email spelled out. But I got into the Tamagotchi League, and I'm actually super happy to be in that league. I had so many growing up.
Miss Tamagotchi? I guess I didn't get past the C. Oh my God, I would have loved to have been in Tamagotchi. I had those terrible Tamagotchis. Like you have to take care. It's like a little nano pet. That was the not good one. Okay. Yeah. Tamagotchis were the OG, but you have to like take care of them and feed them and like do everything on a time schedule. Yeah. And then when they hatch, they turn into like these super cute little things, or they're hideously ugly if you did not take care of them. All of mine were hideously ugly. It was so bad. Like,
no, totally. And I was trying to explain what they were to one of the guys. I did a podcast on Thursday, and like honestly, I'm like, it sounds like the stupidest toy. It's like it hatches, you feed it, and it poops, and you clean up its poop. If you don't clean up its poop, and then it gets gross, and then it's just like that's the only thing you do with this freaking toy. But it was so fun.
And it's on a keychain, and you can carry it with you everywhere. You're like, hold on, let me hang out with my Tamagotchi. I don't need you adults. It was great.
Tate, did you have any of those?
I did not have a Tamagotchi. I was a Pokemon guy. And that was my sister's way of getting on my nerves, was having the Tamagotchi. She's like, Pokemon is stupid. And, playing with the Tamagotchi the whole time. And I'm like, I played it for like 2 seconds. I was like, this isn't for me. I'm going to start, burying my face in Game Boy again.
Well, it was a patience game because like you could only go for so long. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to let you go to sleep. And then you come back and you're like, you shit everywhere. What did you just do?
Yeah. It's like, it's virtually owning a pet when you're like 7.
Absolutely.
That's why mine didn't turn out very well.
I missed out on virtual shit.
It was so back in the day when like Palm Pilots were also a thing.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Blast from the past, Sam.
Stylus and Palm. I was like, I have a schedule. I'm like, I'm in middle school. I don't have anything to do. Like, why do I have a Palm Pilot?
Yeah. Why do I have this? Like, yeah. I'm like, wake up, eat breakfast. Like I'm
to school.
Yeah. Make fun of my brother. I had that on every single list I ever made as a child.
That's amazing. So freaking good. I mean, how are you doing with this quarantine obviously is a struggle for all of us in different ways, but I feel like, and maybe it's because we're all stuck inside, but I feel like the fantasy community is just on fire these days with coming out with content and trying to be as new and different as we can. How do you feel like you've been weathering this storm?
It's been interesting for me. So I'm in a different boat, I think, than most. Some, I don't know. I'm just saying that as an overarching thing. But I've been working from home for the last 8 years. I own my own business. I build websites. So not being able to, you know, venture and commute to a place has pretty much been my norm. And I'm a homebody. My husband and I, much to his chagrin, we go out like maybe twice a month because I'm like, I'd rather not spend $300 at the bar. Like, can I take that online shopping instead? But which I sometimes do, just confessional right there. Well, I've been okay. What's really been struggling for me is everything else that's really been happening. So much divisiveness, so much negativity. And you guys know me well enough that you know I'm a very positive person. So what I've been trying to do is just spread as much positivity as I possibly can. And even if it only takes 10 seconds, 15 seconds just to say something nice to somebody, whether you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, you just pass somebody on the street, which I don't know if we're doing, as long as it's 6 feet apart, that's good. You know, just saying something nice. I've really been focusing on that because it's so hard to listen to the news and it's hard to listen to everything going on because it's always so much divisiveness and so much hatred. But there are good people in the world. There is love still left. I know that sounds so cliche. So I just want to harbor and foster and, you know, nurture that atmosphere and get people back, which is what I love so much about fantasy football. And maybe that's why fantasy football has really taken off, not only because we're bored, but it's one of those industries where it doesn't really matter. Fantasy football, if you have a good argument, it doesn't matter what you look like. It's just there, and it is. And I love that about football a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like, you know, Tate and I are always kind of going back and forth. Oh, how are we going to do a topic this week? And we've been kind of going into, you know, what are our squad ups and our fun movie type themed episodes, which can get pretty nuts. And I think overly competitive and aggressive in ways.
They are unorthodox, to say the very least.
Yeah,
they're a lot of fun. They get wacky.
Yeah, so like one of our last ones that we did, we had to pick. Oh, what was it? We had to pick the one with assistant coaches. Which one was that?
Oh, I don't know about the assistant coaches. I just remember that we had to pick a dance-off squad.
Oh, yeah, like, we had to pick a dance-off squad. So you had to pick, like, top dancers in the world to be on your dance-off squad. It was...
I had Chris Farley from the SNL skit. His name was Barney in that show.
Yeah, can I take Channing Tatum?
Yeah.
Someone took Magic Mike. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't Sam. It was not
It
Sam.
wasn't me.
It was another guy who took Channing Tatum.
Well done by that dude, though. Gotta say.
Bravo. He also took Patrick Swayze's character in Roadhouse. Or no, Dirty Dancing, I think it was.
Dirty Dancing,
yeah.
But
I don't think he was dancing much in Roadhouse, but Dirty Dancing makes sense.
Yeah.
He was getting stabbed a lot and stitching himself up in Roadhouse.
Was it Castle? I feel like his name was something Castle. Like Danny Castle? No. Johnny Castle. That's it. Thank you, babe. Appreciate it. Out of the rafters. Tagging her in.
Too freaking good. Too freaking good. But we did do a mock draft last weekend went through like a pre-Scott Fishbowl mock draft, and that was super fun. How has your draft shaken out? And we can like run down our teams, each of us.
I have been through an emotional roller coaster in my Scott Fish draft. I really have, because I started off so strong and I was like, yes, this is so great. I love this. Then I think we're on maybe the 16th or 17th round so far. Mm-hmm. So then after like picks, I don't know, I want to say round like 5, those guys that I had been kind of waiting on, that I've been, you know, like I've researched them. So clearly I'm the only one who know that they're going to be fantasy relevant. All fly off the board. And I'm like, no, it's over now. Scott Fish, I'm done. It was, oh God. And then I came back on track and I harnessed my chi, came back on track, and I am liking my options moving forward. I've also found that some rankings are a little strange in like the player selection. Mm-hmm. So I just started scrolling. And I'm like, how is Kerryon Johnson still available in the 12th round?
Yeah.
What?
I just started
my league too. For those, and now I'm just going fun with it because I have those main guys I really like. Now I'm trying to find some guys who I think may have good matchup weeks, and then I'm throwing darts. Like I just drafted Antonio Brown, and I'm not sorry at all.
Sorry, I'm not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. That's exactly what I said in my chat. Because they're like, Lauren, what are you doing? I'm like, not sorry.
Not sorry. No. He might play one game, get a touchdown for 70 yards, and then get suspended again. But he's going to be great that 1 week.
We have a 22-man roster. Okay. Have fun.
Tate, are you targeting Antonio Brown in any of your drafts?
I mean, why not? As like the last pick in your draft? I mean, certainly if you're like picking between him and like Antonio Gandy Golden or something like that, I mean, yeah, you take a dart throw on AB, who, if he does get signed to a team, you know, like the Houston Texans, he's kind of been rumored too. I mean, like Dr. Evil type conspiracy. Like if he gets on the Houston Texans, AB will produce at least like top 25 wide receiver production.
Oh my God, that's so spicy because I'm so sorry, Brandon Cooks, you are not DeAndre Hopkins. So that would be so spicy. And I am going to be putting that into the atmosphere, Derek. Thank you for putting that into my brain.
Just, I'm throwing the vibes out there.
I love it.
Into existence. We're speaking the 2020 NFL season into existence. We're going to speak Antonio Brown going to the Houston Texans.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, that gets me kind of excited because, I mean, I feel like there's also going to be a new ticker because, I mean, did you guys see Not Another Teen movie, how they had that ticker for that one player's concussions?
Oh, Reggie Ray?
Yeah, he was a few concussions away from just being done. I feel like they're going to have that for Brandon Cooks this year, and I feel really bad about it, but, like, I'm worried about his head. Like, the poor guy.
It's a legit concern, and I think they're addressing these concerns. Just look at what Bill O'Brien did in that offense to base. You can't replace DeAndre Hopkins, so that's not really what I'm trying to say, but to replace weapons for Deshaun Watson. So you have two amazing pass catchers in the running backs with Duke and David Johnson, which I've said this before, I'll say it again. This is going to be really annoying watching this year because I'm like, which Johnson was that just scored the touchdown? Because I just had to miss his number. Then I looked at D Johnson, like, which D Johnson? Help me. And then I'm going to be looking at my score, and it's going to be very frustrating. I already know this. But they're surrounding them with all these different pass catchers. You know, you've got a field stretcher in Will Fuller as long as he can stay on the field. You've got Brandon. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him. He was phased out of LA. So I'm curious, but they have surrounded him with weapons. So we'll see what they do. I'm curious. But the addition of Antonio Brown to that makes me think like that. You want to talk about adding some weapons for somebody, that would be insane. That would be insane.
Talk about adding a playmaker. I mean,
yeah.
You know, when he's not being crazy, he can catch a football out of midair, out of nothing, and like continue the play. Like he's always been that kind of a divisive player. It hurts to say. It hurts. It hurts to say.
I actually have you guys ever seen the show? I think it was on Animal Planet. It's Treehouse Masters.
Oh my gosh, I think I've seen that.
It's such a great show. The treehouse guy, I'm like, that is me. He's so energetic. He's like, I love trees. Let's do things. And I'm like, yeah.
I haven't seen that show.
Well, Antonio Brown commissioned him to build him a treehouse. I did not get a chance to finish the episode, but I'm like, wait a minute. They can't be the Antonio Brown. And it was. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh this guy built a treehouse for Antonio Brown. I'm like, I recorded it, so I'm going to go back and watch it because that's just fascinating to me. This was when he was still with the Steelers, too, so it was several years ago. But he met him in the driveway. So Antonio Brown, like, comes out of his front door, and this guy's like, oh, man, I'm super excited to meet you. And you could tell that maybe he had imbibed in certain things right before that.
Sure.
He comes out, and he's all like, yeah, man, this is great. I can't wait. It's going to be so great. I'm like, I have to watch the rest of this to see what treehouse mastery this guy came up with. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Forgive me if I'm perplexed. That is a curveball I did not see coming.
Welcome to me, Derek. This is what happens when I go anywhere. My Indian name is Lauren, who speaks off topic. I'm going to go right there in the bottom of my totem with all my fun animal things in front. And that's just, it's my name.
So good.
So I want to ask, though, who do you think is the best ADP buy of all of the Houston Texan wide receivers? Is it Cobb? Is it Brandon Cooks? Is it Will Fuller? Who is it?
Bills.
I don't have a wide receiver for the Houston Texans that I'm really targeting. It just nothing really excites me there, and I think because we're still uncertain as to what's going to happen with the offense. We're uncertain as to how Brandon Cooks is going to play in. I am staying away from Will Fuller. I know that's not a very popular topic, but I don't care. I don't want to deal with Will Fuller. I would take a shot on Brandon Cooks at the right price, and also depending on what my draft is shaping up to look like. I am targeting David Johnson in that offense, and I am not ashamed. I don't care, but I love him in this offense. So I'm actually staying away from the wide receivers, and I'm going into David Johnson. But anyone who knows me know I love David Johnson no matter what. So, but there is a point. The volume is going to be there, and I cannot wait.
Yes, I agree with you. I took him in one of our, in one of our leagues that we're in together. One of the ones.
Yes, you did. You sniped him from me.
I did. I was so freaking stoked. I'm excited for David Johnson this year for all the same reasons that you just listed. I think he's going to be really fantastic. Sorry, you guys hearing an echo from me?
There's a little echo.
Right?
Oh, I don't hear anything.
Oh, you're good?
I mean, I do hear you, but no echo.
Okay.
I think we're good now. I think we good. So how did y'all's team shake out in the Cabbage Patch and Tamagotchi leagues? I never thought I'd say that in a sentence.
Mine's shorter. I'll run through mine quick because we're still plugging away slowly at this draft. Yeah, we're not in as many rounds as you are, Lauren. But so my first one, I was 103 and I took Lamar Jackson. And then second pick from that, I took Austin Eckler, and then I took Matt Ryan. The rest of these are not in order of where I took them, but because they all got smushed around. Oh, I took Zach Ertz next, and then I got Darius Geis, Raheem Mostert, Keyshawn Vaughn, Marquise Brown, Jarvis Landry, and Robert Woods.
I love
and
that
Jared Cook
pick. I love that guy's pick because you can get him late, and he's the RB1. So.
Yeah, I got him really late. The last running back I just took was Keyshawn Vaughn, and right before him, I think I took Darius Geis.
Me too, girl. I have Keyshawn Vaughn too, even though I did equate him to hot fruit in a previous podcast.
Hot fruit?
Yeah, because we're talking about that division and how many amazing, fantasy opportunities there are in that division. I mean, it's like literally you walk into a room full of dessert, lovely, amazing, delicious dessert. I love chocolate. I love caramel. I love pie. But there's one thing I cannot stand about dessert, and it is hot fruit. Do not give me an apple pie. Do not give me a cherry pie. Don't give me a peach cobbler. Because when I think of hot fruit, I think that I have forgotten a bag of groceries in my sweltering car, and now it's rotting and hot inside of my vehicle, and it's disgusting. So it is dessert, but it's not the best dessert for me. And yet I still drafted him.
That was a really good analogy.
Right now.
I'm trying to process it. Yes, hot fruit does suck, though.
I mean, that just, to me, lists there was a bad experience in your life, and so you'll never go back to pie.
You can't do it. I mean, like chocolate pie. Give me some chocolate mousse. I mean, pecan pie, all about it. Pumpkin pie, for sure. Apple pie, trash. Immediately.
Hot garbage.
Gross. Just
hot cinnamon garbage.
I think
my husband's favorite dessert is apple pie, which is funny because I make it and I don't eat it.
That's sweet, though. That at least you make it. Like, you're not so repulsed that you're like, not even in my kitchen.
Yeah, now the cinnamon, I think, and the nutmeg really, overwhelm the senses to the fact that I am sniffing hot apples. Like that's nasty, and it does kind of have a fall thing. But I'm not gonna ingest it. Like I don't want to. I mean, hot fruit is just gross. It's just nasty.
My fiance just laughed at me behind the camera, saying, "Yeah, he knows nothing. He has nothing to contribute to this conversation. If I can't throw it into the oven or to the air fryer, then I'm completely useless."
Well, you can do both, but you have to assemble it first and then put it in.
Yeah.
I was really proud. I actually threw some baked potatoes in the air fryer the other day. That was
Congratulations.
I called Sam and let Sam know about it too.
Yeah, but wait, sorry, baked potato. That means you just took a potato and you put it in the air fryer?
I threw some salt on it. That was it.
Pro tip, next time after you wash your potato, slather it, first of all, punch a whole bunch of holes in it with your fork, like as many as you possibly can. Slather it in olive oil, then put salt in it, then put it in the air fryer. You will never have a baked potato as good as that.
Ooh, okay.
I definitely didn't poke holes in it. That's how basic I am. This
is step 2. Step 1, start process. Step 2, take the next step to step 3, which is to ingest it. But you will like it. It makes the inside very, very fluffy, and then the outside turns into a nice crisp. So it's like you're eating a delicious potato skin, half potato chip. It's quite good.
Ooh, nice. I need to get myself an air fryer for sure.
Now I'm hungry. Even though I just
need to get an air fryer, Sam. That is on your to-do list.
We love our air fryer. Honestly, we use it. We have 3 air fryers.
3?
Yeah. We indulged and got the Emerald 360, like 6-in-1. The thing is amazing. Oh my God, I love it. But we also have a very small air fryer that we can just, throw like an egg roll in or something. And then we have a larger air fryer, which we're probably going to get rid of now that we have the Emerald one. So clearly we like to air fry things.
I dig it.
This one hair is tickling my nose. That's why I keep scratching my face.
You're fine. We have a lot of people joining us in the comments, guys. Thanks for joining us as always. If you have any questions, please let us know. Will Jenkins pointing out Kiki Cutie is a target that maybe some people are targeting from Houston. I personally am not. I'm in your camp in that I'm not necessarily targeting any of these wide receivers late. If Brandon Cooks falls to me, which he did not, then I'm not really going to go near that offense. I feel like there's other offenses that we could see value in. And we're going to kind of pivot back and forth between our draft and the main topic of today, which is these late round. I mean, you can call them sleepers, you can call them, value ADPs.
What is the proper name?
What do we call these guys?
Aren't they all the same?
They are, but it's like
sleepers, ADP buy. Is there such a thing as a sleeper now in the fantasy football community?
I don't feel like there is, because people talk people up so frequently that it's no longer a secret. And I feel like a sleeper is a secret. There's no secret.
Yeah. The sleeper is whether or not the person you're drafting with or your team that you're drafting with knows about them or believes it. Therefore, they become a sleeper. So I think it's all relative, just depending on your situation and who it is that you're drafting with. Like, I'm in a lot of home leagues that do not do the kind of things that I do in the off season. So for them, everyone is a sleeper. They don't know who these people are. And I'm like, oh my God, great value. And they're like, I don't even know what team he plays for. Don't say that to me. Don't snipe my player and then not know who they are. It drives me crazy.
Right? And then I've got, I'm sure that you have this too, where you're in leagues where, people know that you do podcasts and you do write and you have all of these different platforms that people can get your information from. Yes.
David Johnson. No, I've never been in that position before. Do tell me more. I'm trying to know.
No, but I'm just saying, I get it all the time too, where like my guy friends in my league will be like, hey, who do you think's a good rookie? And I'm like, oh, obviously Cole Kmet. You should definitely take him number one. Because if the Bears are topping off on tight ends, then you should too. And they're like, no, who really? I'm like, listen to a podcast. Now, can you just tell me? No, listen to a podcast.
Right?
Just tell me. No, listen to one of my shows and find the needle in the haystack.
At least I'll ask you. I'm in a league where literally I've been doing this. It'll go going on my 3rd year now. And I'm in a league. So this guy has Kenyon Drake. And it was like this huge breakout game for Kenyon Drake. You could see it in the defense. They were going up against, I can't remember who it was, but they were terrible against pass catching running backs. I'm like, this is the week where you start Kenyon Drake. He scored 3 touchdowns in that game. So this guy's at our house complaining that he didn't start Kenyon Drake. I'm like, first of all, why didn't you ask me? Second of all, you do know that I get paid to look at this, right? Like, no. They're kind of in one ear, out the other. And then it drives me crazy because they still end up beating me sometimes. Yeah, it drives me crazy.
It's awesome.
Sorry about that. I just had to get that.
No. It's tough to watch. It's tough to watch the casual participants in some of the fantasy leagues that I play in beat me or get lucky, just outluck me. I hate that.
And I think it's that they don't overthink it. I think we overthink things as analysts, and they don't. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, start, like whatever.
Cool. My friend's got that name, and then they start them. So it's like,
My mom actually helped me with the pick one time. We were just talking, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm trying to decide to start so-and-so and, Sterling Shepard. She's like, oh, you need to start Sterling Shepard. I'm like, why? She's like, well, his name is Sterling, and Sterling Silver is pretty. Ergo, you start Sterling Shepard. And he scored 2 touchdowns that game and had, like, ridiculous amounts of points. And my other guys scored, like, maybe 2 points on my bench. I'm like, I should adopt this theory.
So good. That just reminds me of like when I first started playing fantasy football. I mean, unfortunately at the time I was just, a fan of football. So I just enjoyed watching the games, but then I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and get into this. Who am I going to pick? Oh, this guy's hot. This guy's hot. This guy's hot. And so I just had
my first pick was Tom Brady. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the time I had Wes Welker and Jordy Nelson. I was like, whew.
Julian Edelman,
and then I just got in so much trouble with my friends and the guys that I picked, and I'm like, hey, it's not my fault that they're pretty and they're good at football.
Yeah, very talented.
I did okay that later.
Poor Dave.
No, it's okay. No, I get it. I get it. They're handsome looking men. Yes, and if that's the tiebreaker. If you're having a hard time,
it falls down to that where it's like flip a coin. Well,
I want to cheer for the guy that's good looking. Yeah, I get it. I get it. That's a tiebreaker. That is definitely a way to get, lean and slant a different direction. But I'm such a film and football junkie. I played into my college years. Like I'm such a different analytical approach to all of this that I do.
You don't pick them because they're hot, is what you're saying.
I mean.
I don't take
I do like Randall Cobb's eyes. I mean, they are
just
stunning.
brought this up on another podcast, and they were like, what's up with his eyes? I'm like, they're like ice blue green and gorgeous.
Like,
where have you been? They're like, I've never looked at his eyes. I'm like, windows to the soul, my friend.
I've actually brought it up to Sam. I've actually brought it up to Sam before about his eyes because I'm like, whoa, holy hell. His eyes are like almost like lasers through his helmet.
Your soul through the TV screen. I'm like, he knows my darkest secrets. Turn away.
If he was a Game of Thrones character, he'd be a White Walker because his eyes are that like ice blue. It's crazy.
So pretty.
So pretty.
So pretty.
Anywho, but I mean, the over-analysis or the paralysis by analysis, like that's why at times I've drafted or started like someone like Jay Cutler because he has a great matchup as the Dolphins quarterback, as opposed to just starting Aaron Rodgers and set it and forget it. Like I've overanalyzed this.
Mm-hmm.
I think we try to get cute and we're like, we're going to get that one guy that's going to blow up based on the matchup. And then we just completely miss an obvious. And it's just like,
yeah, there was one. Remember when Nick Mullins was the starter? And yeah, I had some guy like blowing me up on Twitter, like, I started him. Aren't they so smart? I'm like, why would you do that? I mean, congratulations. That's wonderful. But what on earth? Okay.
You had no other options?
I know. Like, how big is your league? 16 people? Whatever. It was funny.
We're in a 5 QB format.
Yeah.
One receiver, one running back.
Yeah. Like, it was okay. Sure.
In a 20-team league. Yeah. 5 quarterback format in a 20-team league. But I've been guilty of being, I call it a fantasy hipster, trying to be ahead of the curve, trying to go against the grain, trying to plant your flag. And it's bitten me in the ass a couple times, but that's fantasy football.
It is, and that's what makes it fun. If it was easy, it wouldn't be as fun to play. I mean, everybody loves to win, of course, but the win is almost so much sweeter when there's blood, sweat, and tears that go into it.
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't want the consolation prize. You don't want to be like, everybody got a trophy. You want to be like, that's my trophy that I got. You know, and that's what makes it so joyful. And I love when we're like, I'll do, you know, my live streams during the season and help with starts and sets, and everyone's like, what's going to happen with so and so? What's going to happen? Like, if I knew that, I would have a mansion in Belize and I wouldn't be doing this. Okay. I would be a multi-billionaire. So don't ask me what's going to happen in the future. I don't know. I can tell you what the research suggests, but this is fantasy football. It's fake. I don't know.
It changes week to week. Someone can get the stomach bug right before a game.
Quarter to quarter. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I wish I did though.
I will say when you hit on being a fantasy hipster and going against the grain, when you hit that home run that no one else hits, it's almost euphoric. It's
addictive.
Last year, I think I started this. It hit last year in the playoffs and got me to the championship round of my league by starting Brashad Perriman over, I think, Devontae Adams. Because he was going like, I did something crazy. I don't know if it was Devontae Adams, but it was a bona fide starter. Yeah. But he scored 3 touchdowns against the Lions, and I was at that game, and I was like, hell.
The fantasy stars aligned. Did you pour out some motivations for that? Because I think you bribed the fantasy gods, which is totally acceptable.
I am nowhere of all things, and then I lost in the championship round. So
I hate that. I hate that so much. I lost in one of my big money league. I lost in the championship round as well, and it was heartbreaking. I had Zeke, Mark Andrews, who I got in the 11th round, who I was really high on prior to his exploding. So that was my hit on that. Right. I love that. George Kittle, Mark Andrews, Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, I had like a star-studded team, and I lost in the playoffs. That just shows you what fantasy football is. It is up in the air. And
absolutely. I mean, I won my big dynasty league last year, and I played against our commissioner who had Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. At the time, we weren't 2 QB. We're going to 2 QB this year. So I think he started Mahomes, and he had Christian McCaffrey. But I beat him. Somehow, magically, I beat him, and it was mostly because of Aaron Jones and his 2 touchdowns in that one game he had.
So in a keeper league, he had C-Mac, Lamar Jackson, and Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are
mine was redraft. Mine was straight up redraft. Alvin Kamara was in there too, by the way. So Kamara, Zeke, Kittle, Andrews, and Drew Brees was my quarterback.
Oh, nice.
12-person PPR redraft. Thank God Zeke was on the holdout for the contract. We drafted a little bit earlier, so everyone's like, I'm going to let Zeke fall. I'm like, I'm not. 3rd round. What's wrong with you?
Oh,
that's great value there.
It's awesome.
And no, that league is it's a dynasty salaried. it's a very complicated league. So there's a lot of reasons the stars aligned for him to have all those people, but he doesn't have all of them now, so he's gonna have to rebuild.
I think I asked you to explain some of the rules when it comes to it, and I got like a 3-page novel.
A dissertation.
Yeah, it's a long
like 3 days before making a decision.
It's an IDP league too, so we just went full IDP. So now we've got, I think, 6 or 7 defensive spots that we have to fill, plus a kicker. I don't know. We still have a kicker at this point.
Yeah, that's a straight up like solid actual team. I mean, that you really have to work for. That is very interesting.
Yeah, it was
terrifying.
It's terrifying, and we've got our rookie draft tomorrow, and I only have 1 pick in the 3rd round. So everyone is asking me what I want to pick, and I'm like, no, you guys just pick whoever the hell you want to pick, and I'll see what falls in the 3rd.
Exactly.
Pick up the scraps, so it'll be fun.
Get it.
I'm not going to trade away all of my future to like trade into the top. I mean, I know there's a lot of really great wide receivers in this class of rookies, and I'm excited for all of them, but I also know the guys in my league, and I'm positive that they're going to pick up one, overthink it, and drop them. So
Exactly. Well said.
Yeah. So I'll just wait. I'll just be patient, you know, like a serial killer waiting for like their kill. I'm just going to like sit back.
I mean, or like a lion.
Oh, sure. You know, something that's less creepy than what I just said. Absolutely. That sounds good. Because I realized this week, I'm like, I just go really creepy too fast. I go 0 to like.
Well, it depends on what you watch too. Like, you know what I mean?
I watch a lot of Criminal Minds.
There you go. Then that's it. I've had to like stay away from those. So there's a South Park episode where they talk about the investigation discovery like network, and I believe they call it murder porn. I'm 100% guilty of being that person, just like staring. I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen? So my husband's like, you need to stop watching this like now. And I'm like, okay. So I turned on like HGTV and DIY network, and then I just started building things in my garage. He's like, see, this is why you can't watch those. You were planning on killing me. I knew it. I was like, no.
It could get a little concerning when the most recent viewed thing for Netflix for my fiance is, you know, how to get away with murder.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm kidding. She didn't watch it. But I mean, you just imagine. It's freaks me out.
Yeah, I definitely try to watch more of the HGTV to just stay more positive. Also, I started The Handmaid's Tale right when quarantine started, and that was a bad show to start during quarantine because I'm like, the world is just getting crazier as the months are going, and I'm like, they're going to take away my credit cards. They're going to take away my bank account. I'm a woman. This is going to be terrible.
I had to be very careful with the shows that I watch because things that go on up in here are already very complicated. I don't need to have anything else to complicate what's happening up in here. So my mind is like, I'm going to read a historical romance novel. So I feel really good about my life because I can't watch this anymore. I'm freaking out.
Freaking love it. Let's somehow circle back to football.
There we go.
Bit, just for like another minute.
I didn't say my Scott Fishbowl team.
Yes. Let's go back to your league.
So this is in no particular order except for the first ones. I had the 103 as well, Sam. Okay. And I went Patrick Mahomes, and then right after that, oh gosh, I can't remember who I got. But my team, I'll just run it all. I have 3 quarterbacks: Patrick Mahomes, Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater. I've got Todd Gurley and David Johnson.
Nice.
Kerryon Johnson, Keyshawn Vaughn. And my wide receivers are in no order: Antonio Brown, Kenny Golladay, Deshaun Jackson, Jerry Jeudy, Emmanuel Sanders, Cortland Sutton. My tight ends are Mark Andrews and Hunter Henry.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
I like
it. Premium.
I'm happy with it.
Tight end premium. Love it.
Yes, and I mean, I went in on it. So I did Patrick Mahomes, and then somehow Mark Andrews fell to me when it came back. So I got Mark Andrews, and then right away it was like, I've got to look at another quarterback, and I've got to look at another tight end. So unfortunately, that means that your running back and wide receiver positions are going to drop. But luckily this year, as we're going to talk about late value players, the wide receiver class is very, very deep. It is very deep. So there are a lot of options that you can pick up as your wide receiver 2, your wide receiver 3, that you can get a little bit later. So I was happy with how it turned out. I got sniped a few times, which it happens to everyone.
It happens to all of us. Absolutely.
All of us. But I was really happy with the way it turned out. And people may be shaking their heads with the David Johnson, Todd Gurley. Those are my 2 starting running backs. But in a quarterback bonus league like this is, and a tight end premium, you really want to invest pretty heavily in your quarterbacks and in your tight ends. And so I decided to go all in on that strategy and see how it worked. And it's worked out really well so far.
Yeah,
I say now. Who knows? At the end of the year, I'm going to be like, that was stupid.
It's really worked out well for me. Thank you very much. I might drop the mic. Whoops.
Yeah, no, but just with the way the scoring is and the way that, you know, obviously quarterbacks are also penalized for, you know, sacks and interceptions. In this league, I'm same boat. So I went Lamar Jackson, Austin Eckler, then Matt Ryan. So I went early on that QB, and then I got Zach Ertz in the 4th round. So I know that I wanted to target and, like you said, hit those positions hard very quickly, just because I wanted to make sure I was short up at that position.
Yeah, and I'm one of those that I'm a writer for the fantasy footballers. In case anyone is like, who is this person? I'm a writer for the fantasy footballers. I'm also newly a writer for Fantasy Pros. I published 3 articles in June. I've got some more coming out, obviously, in July as we go forward. But I'm a late round QB girl. I like adding the value that I can get at other positions earlier in my draft, because those quarterbacks can fall pretty well. And there are some quarterbacks that I really, really like this year as well, like Drew Brees. Matt Ryan is another one. So Scott Fish, for anyone listening who's not in Scott Fish, who doesn't know what the Scott Fish Bowl is, this is one of, I mean, it is, the quarterbacks are insane. Actually, my home league is like this. It is not out of the realm of possibility that your quarterback can score 99 points in a game. In my home league. So Scott Fish is almost like that. The amount of bonuses you have and the penalties that you can get for having a poor quarterback, you have to have an elite quarterback to have a fighting chance in these leagues. And then add on the tight end premium, which is 1.5 per reception for tight ends. You really have to have one that's involved. So it's harder to stream that position as it would be in a regular draft. So the Scott Fish Bowl is always a very weird draft. And so I wouldn't normally draft like this in like a, you know, a 12-team PPR or standard or whatever. This is a completely different monster. Completely different.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm always preaching like waiting on tight end because there's greater value later. Outside of those top 3, really top 2, you don't want to take them too early. Right. You can get better value later. They can break out later. You want to shore up the running back and wide receiver positions, like always talking about that. Although I feel like just the way that, you know, I've been talking about quarterbacks and like I might change the way I draft in some redraft leagues this year and take people like Mahomes and Lamar Jackson earlier than I normally would, just because there's just so much value with those players.
And that's a really good point. I did write a couple series pieces. It was for Fantasy Pros. It was targeting former elite running backs. And I specifically chose Todd Gurley, David Johnson, and Le'Veon Bell. And I picked those guys because these were automatic auto smash draft first round guys as recently as just a few years ago. This wasn't like this was 10 years ago. It would, I mean, it feels like it was a long time ago, but it's not. So I did a whole bunch of mock drafts from the beginning, middle, and the end, just to see what my team would look like if I targeted those running backs specifically. And I found that I can really pull in an elite tight end and target those guys, even if they're my RB1. But let's say I didn't want them to be my RB1. I'm a little scared about production, you know, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So I ended up getting a stud running back, complemented my RB2 immediately. And then now I still have late round quarterbacks I can get. I still have late round tight ends that I can target. And I'm filling up from the 3rd round below on some stud wide receivers that have fallen. And I loved it. I loved the way those turned out. This is a very interesting year when it comes to the talent that is available 3rd round and below. More so, I feel, that I have played in the past 5 or 6 years. This is a very different looking group of players. But with COVID, who knows? All of this could be just...
I know, all of it can go to crap when this next week.
We're talking about speaking things into existence. Let's not speak that into existence. Please.
I mean, when we play, in order to combat all of this negativity that we have,
right,
we can all gather behind our football and fantasy football. That better?
Let's go. Love it.
Cheers. By the way, I'm drinking. Yeah, I just wanted to announce that to everybody.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm kidding.
I'm just kidding. Oh my gosh. If anybody has ever heard a single sentence of Stepmom Lauren that doesn't involve Tito's, I would like to see it.
You are on brand as always.
As always, girl. I tried to get them to sponsor me, and they're like, oh, no, we don't sponsor, but here's some free booze. I'm like, I'll take that too.
Really? I got to reach out to Truly.
Actually, it's right here. Let me get it.
So I do find it very, and you talk about being able to go Lamar Jackson, Patrick. Oh, they said you free?
Yeah. I think it's a liter of Tito's.
We're doing it wrong, Sam. Sam, we're doing it wrong.
I know. I could
with Kate and Michelle from the Wild West Girls.
That's awesome.
Now Tito's is going to be emailing me like, why are you saying this?
We don't.
We just going to write in a Right.
Go ahead, Derek. I'm sorry. I'm very good at
No. I find it interesting with like in particular. There's 4 guys that, as far as 2 at the quarterback spot, 2 at the tight end spot, we know who they are: Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and George Kittle and Travis Kelce. As far as the elite level at their position to give you a positional advantage, if you're playing in a genuine or like general 12 team, one quarterback, not super flex type of league, that you could double up if you get them at the right point, whether it's, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce or George Kittle, at the end of the second round, beginning of the third, if you want to knock out both of those positions. Wide receiver is so deep this year.
It's really deep.
You're finding players that I feel very confident that will finish inside the top 25 in PPR formats in the 6th, 7th round. And that's on a consistent basis every time I mock. I mean, why is Tyler Boyd not a thing? I mean, the dude has finished as a top 20 PPR wide receiver. I know, I'm sorry. But I want to bang the drum on this one.
I love Tyler Boyd this year. I love him this year.
AJ Green is in a contract squabble with a franchise that traditionally is a little bit on the frugal side when it comes to contracts. And AJ Green's on the wrong side of 30 to get a big extension for a team that finished last year with the worst record in the National Football League.
All he needs is just to play 1 year, because Tyler Boyd cannot be fantasy relevant without AJ Green. So as long as AJ Green is on the field, he is going to be taking all of the defense, all of the double coverage, and Tyler Boyd is going to just feast on his frosted flakes, which I apparently know he eats for breakfast. I'm going
to say the ADP is great on Tyler Boyd. So anyway, sorry, I Sam, I had to.
I knew you would.
But I want to go ahead and for Tyler Boyd in particular, I mean, like, I know he's not a sleeper or someone you're going to get past the, 9th round or something like that. But as far as a guy that, like, I feel confident can finish inside as a top 20 wide receiver, take it to the bank this year, even if AJ Green plays, whether he does or doesn't, the guy that really vibed the most with Joe Burrow at LSU was Justin Jefferson. And he played predominantly out of the slot. A lot of their pro concepts came from that Saints system where the doubles type of scheme was almost in there every single drive. They ran some sort of form of it. And Tyler Boyd is somebody you can move all over the formation. I love him in the slot. I love what he's going to be able to do as far as, and not to mention the Cincinnati defense is trash. They're going to be playing from behind and throwing the football a lot. Burrow might not be the most efficient, but you're going to see Tyler Boyd getting peppered with targets.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about the Houston offense and how that's a wide receiver class, a group that none of us are really wanting to touch. But opposite side, I mean, it hurts to say, but I really like a lot of the Bengals receiver options as late round flyers. I mean, I love that you bring up Tyler Boyd, John Ross. I personally really like Auden Tate because he's such a big guy. I love him as a deep red zone target. So what just names
though. What about
he reminds me so much of AJ Brown. Too. Crazy.
Yeah. No, I love him too.
Auden Tate's got a great last name.
Yeah, he's got a great last name. Yeah, he's got such a fun name. No, but these are guys where this is a new system. This is Joe Burrow's system, and they're going to be tailoring it how they need to tailor it. AJ Green's going to fit in there if he's going to fit in there the way he's going to. But obviously, Burrow is going to find a rapport with one of these guys. We don't know 100% which one of them is. I think a lot of people think it's going to be Higgins because they're both coming in as rookies. And so you're going to have that kind of a rapport. But we're going to see him target one of these guys, and they're great value. You can get super late. Why not take a dart throw at one of them that could potentially be Burrow's new favorite toy?
So speaking of Auden Tate, and speaking of Lauren speaks off topic, so he shares the last name of not only our very esteemed Derek Tate, but also Golden Tate. Now, does anybody know what the symbol on the periodic table is for gold?
No.
It's AU, and Golden Tate, and Auden Tate.
Hey,
that
now.
Freaks me out every time I think about it. So it was brought up on the Fantasy Footballers, and we had been talking about something else, but it blew Jason Moore's minds. I know every time I hear the word Auden Tate, I'm like, Golden Tate.
I love that.
Isn't that messed up? Like, how weird.
Let's just keep talking about Tates.
I know.
This works.
Famous Tates that play football?
Not me, but That's a sale. But is there, as far as, I mean, we talked about, the Scott Fish Bowl draft in particular is, Superflex leagues throw a monkey wrench into traditional ADP. By the way, I mean, you write for Fantasy Pros. I love Fantasy Pros as the go-to sources, like for ADP, because they accumulate all of the different. They have
so much data. Yes, it's amazing.
Love it. I mean, that's by far the best tool. So, I mean, if you haven't checked out Fantasy Pros, definitely check it out. It's a fantastic resource. But as far as, I mean, we talked a little bit about wide receivers. I mean, is there anybody else at the wide receiver spot that both of y'all like as more so late round flyers that are kind of flying under the radar in PPR formats?
So for me, I have two. One is like a sort of late, and the other one's like later, I think. It just depends on where they're going to fall in ADP. Right. So, Sam, I think you're going to really like this one. I love Deontay Johnson. I love him. I love him. I love him. And I cannot wait to see how well he does with Big Ben. I can't wait. If he managed to do as well as he did with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. And let me just tell you, this is a rookie wide receiver. I don't like rookie wide receivers. I don't like them. That sounds bad. I don't dislike them as human beings. I generally tend to stay away from them in drafts completely. But this guy scored 5 touchdowns. He had 92 targets, 59 receptions, 680 yards, and he had 11.5 yards per reception. He managed to do this under those two. Really? Wow. And then not only that, Ben is coming back. He should be healthy. Hopefully he's kind of like the movie Rookie of the Year. Remember when he broke his arm and it was like suddenly he was firing and he was in the major leagues, and it was so obviously not realistic, but super fun to watch.
Rowan Gardner.
Now, this not only does that help Deontay Johnson, it helps Juju Smith-Schuster. So if there can be someone else to help take away Juju Smith-Schuster's defense, basically the coverage that he's looking at, he can stay in the slot, also helped by Chase Claypool, which is another interesting name I like in Dynasty. We're going to see a very different offense than what we have typically been thinking of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm very interested to see how creatively they do it. But Deontay Johnson is one that I want to have every share of Deontay Johnson that I possibly can. I love him. Now, speaking of, I just said I don't like to draft rookies. There is one rookie that I am okay with taking a flyer on, and that's going to be Jerry Jeudy. And it's not just because I graduated from Mizzou and I love Drew Lock. Maybe it is a little bit, but he has kind of that unquestioned role. I know who else is there? Isn't Deshaun Hamilton? Is he one of them too? I don't know. See, that's how it doesn't even stick.
Cortland Sutton, I mean, yeah.
Well, Cortland Sutton's your downfield stretcher,
right,
which is why I think Jerry Jeudy is going to do well. He is a quintessential slot receiver that I think is going to need to be heavily utilized. Now you add Melvin Gordon, you still have Phillip Lindsay. I'm pretty sure Royce Freeman is still in the NFL. We haven't heard him leave, so I guess he's still there. So you have all of these different weapons that are around, and it just frees up the opportunity for these wide receivers to make a splash and make a splash early. Drew Lock is still young. He only started 5 games last year. I'm just shocked that he did as well as he did. He is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. He was in college. He did fantastic. Now he needs to grow. Who better to grow with than a rookie? Yeah, I love that rapport that they have going, but I normally don't draft rookie wide receivers, but I would take a shot on Jerry Jeudy. He's the only one I would.
Like it. I like that a lot. I mean, I think
it's kind of Homer, but because
I want to talk about Deontay Johnson too.
Yeah, unload on Deontay Johnson. I mean, honestly, like to me, and I love that you bring up the point with Juju Smith. I mean, when Juju was at his peak in stats, it was because he was playing opposite Antonio Brown and he was taking all the defense off of that. So the Steelers have historically been fantastic with multiple weapons. So if Ben is healthy, if Juju is healthy, if we're all healthy, and we have these amazing weapons, everyone should be feasting on these amazing fantasy points.
Yes, I agree.
So when it comes to Deontay Johnson, I just want to add real quick that not only was he led all rookie receivers in receptions.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, throw that on there. And I think what's one of the hardest things for a rookie wide receiver coming into the National Football League? It's to get open. Mm-hmm. He actually led all rookie wide receivers in average separation at the per route run. Mm-hmm. So Deontay Johnson has a lot of symptoms that remind me of someone like AB. I'm not saying he's going to produce like Antonio Brown. Calm down. Like, I'm not saying that. But
I said almost the exact same words in a recent article. I was like, I'm not saying he's Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Chill out. But
I mean, I see some similarities where him and Juju should vibe perfectly, like where Antonio Brown, that's going to be the role filled by Deontay Johnson. Chase Claypool and James Washington, they should be the vertical threat to be able to push defenses. They're not going to have enough weekly volume to be reliable. Maybe best ball, they pop every once in a while, but they're going to be deep threats. Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson are going to be consistently seeing a weekly floor of targets that you can feel popular or feel. Oh my God, targets, and I said popular. I mean, what
are you drinking,
water? But anyway, Deontay Johnson is someone I'm really high on for your Steelers there, Sam.
So I do have something bold and spicy, which may sound absolutely ridiculous, but I don't care. Welcome. My name is Stepmom Lauren. But so Chase Claypool is gigantic. I don't know how many people understand how big this guy is. He's huge. He's like Rob Gronkowski. He's big, but notice how I said Rob Gronkowski. There's one position that I feel is the weakest for the Steelers. It's the tight end position. Vance McDonald, we have Eric Ebron. There's sustainability issues there. And he is, target, red zone dependent, touchdown dependent when it comes to fantasy relevance. Chase Claypool is like a cheeseburger away from being a brick-ass house of a tight end. So it would not surprise me if Chase Claypool actually turns into a tight end. And we do not see Chase Claypool as a wide receiver. May not happen before the season. Since they can only Zoom each other, don't really think that's going to facilitate this change, but I would not be surprised if we see Chase Claypool turn into a tight end as opposed to a wide receiver. And he is going to be a solid end zone threat once he gets that chemistry and rapport going with his quarterback to be on the field consistently. How does that happen? If you're a tight end, it's blocking. It's getting open. It's being that target where it's like, oh, because my wingspan is 8 feet long, I can just reach up and grab it. And then if you try to tackle me, you will bounce off and fall on the floor. And then I'll be laughing at you as I run into the end zone. That's what I see when I see Chase Claypool. So maybe not this year, but I think 2021 is going to be an interesting year for him.
I want to go ahead and I love the idea of a move tight end that moves like Chase Claypool, pun intended.
Yeah.
But
I told you it was bold and spicy. I
liked it. I digged it. I was like, yeah. I also like the he's one hamburger away. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy where he says you're one sandwich away from fat. Like you're literally one.
I don't know.
Yeah, Rocket says it to Star-Lord. He says you're one sandwich away from fat after they find.
I love those movies.
By the way, Chris Pratt looks great. I don't know where they're going with that, but anyway,
he got a little puffy in one of the movies.
I mean,
it happens to the best of us.
It happens. Although I think it's too much creatine because creatine does make the muscles swell up, but it also makes your face swell up if you're not doing it right.
I mean, I'm saying y'all are talking about these physically fit males, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta puff myself up. It's not gonna work. So I'm just gonna go ahead and relax,
just be you. Just be you.
Sit back. I'm gonna be me. But when it comes to Chase Claypool, actually, I see a lot of DK Metcalf and Chase Claypool.
Yes, that's another one too, for sure.
There's a lot of raw ability. I mean, obviously, he's built like the statue of David. I mean, he looks the part of a Greek god, and he can also just straight up hit another gear that a lot of folks can't.
Right. He's fast, and he has a vertical that's unbelievable for a man his size.
Athlete. And we don't know how he's going to develop, but the Steelers have a great track record of developing wide receivers. I know that they lost a great wide receivers coach, RIP and God rest his soul, but they have a way of being able to identify wide receiver talent. Chase Claypool is another one of those. I mean, with Eric Ebron and Vance McDonald, and I just don't know if I see him moving to the tight end spot. I get he probably could play tight end, but he's an interesting dynasty pick. I love him in the 3rd round because he's going under the radar in rookie dynasty drafts. But you mentioned, who was the other wide receiver that you mentioned?
Jerry Jeudy.
When it comes to the Denver Broncos, I mean, Albert O, by the way. If Albert O wasn't playing behind Noah Fant, I would be such a big fan of him. But what's his role?
It takes tight ends a little bit of time to develop in the NFL. Not that I would know as being a tight end in the NFL, but historically speaking,
they do.
Give my boy Alberto a little bit of time, and then we'll be having this conversation. 2022.
Love Alberto. I mean, we didn't even bring up KJ Hamler. He is a straight vertical deep threat that's going to be able to.
He has ball handling issues, though. I mean, he can. Yeah. I'm trying to think of another phrase for that. Drops the ball. I mean, not all the time, but he does. Yeah, I think so. Or I might be thinking of somebody else, but I thought KJ Hamler had some issues. With dropping the ball. But I feel like that's such a cliche thing to say. He drops the ball. Like, he does this sometimes. I mean, I don't know. But I could be wrong. I could be thinking of somebody else, so don't quote me on that.
I think it's a little cliche, but if your job is to catch the ball and you drop the ball, then it kind of does fit.
It does. But like for some reason, maybe it just sticks into my brain because I'm like, oh, that burned me on a fantasy week. But anytime someone brings up Stephon Diggs, I think he who drops footballs. Like that is what I think into my brain. And I'm like, I'm not drafting him. Not drafting him, not starting him. I can't.
What's the hype train? I'm not on.
He's like, I feel, this is not statistically accurate. I feel he's like 2 times out of 10, he'll get it done. I don't trust him.
Love those odds. Love those odds.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Woohoo!
Sam, who do you got as like any of ADP type buys? Late round sleepers. Who are your sleepers? Late round flyers? Lottery?
Well, I have to say, I mean, Lauren did pull a lot of mine off of my list because I shamelessly was going to plug my Steelers. But I am seeing N'Keal Harry drop a little bit, and I think that he is someone that people should not forget about. You're going to have Cam Newton come into the Patriots, and aside from Julian Edelman, you want someone that's a good route runner, playmaker, and that's N'Keal Harry in spades. So I think that he's going to find some really good volume there with Cam, and I'm excited for that. I just feel like people are forgetting about him.
Oh, I have so many words I want to say. It's like tumbling over each other. First of all, don't say that out loud anymore. We want people to forget about these guys. Second of all, I totally agree. I love N'Keal Harry this year. I felt almost really bad for him that he wasn't able to just explode like he should have been able to last year, because you're right. He's got the talent. He's got that personality on the field. Like you know, he's there, but he's still a team player. So I am very excited about him as well. And he is going, like you said, very late. It's fantastic. And I have to write him down to make sure I don't forget, because I think I have.
To be exact, he is the wide receiver 60 off the board, according to Fantasy Pros and PPR formats at the current moment. Look, N'Keal Harry, one of the toughest transitions for wide receivers going from college to the NFL is to learn the lingo and the playbook and the nuances of an offensive system in the National Football League.
That's easy. What are you talking about?
They're like a page long, right? Like
it's just one page PDF document.
You just have to screenshot an IG story and then you're good.
Yeah.
So at Arizona State, they used a lot of hand signals. Things were very simplified for an up-tempo offense. You go to Josh McDaniel and Tom frickin' Brady in the National Football League, and then you throw into that he actually lost a ton of reps because he got hurt very, very, very early last year.
I think people do forget that as well. That's a good thing to bring up, Derek, is that he was such a low profile. We didn't see him, and that was why. Recency bias, we're kind of like, oh yeah, that guy, but he was hurt, and it's a legitimate thing.
And one of the things that when it comes to N'Keal Harry, that I thought that was going to be the biggest struggle for him going from the college level to the NFL level was being able to create separation at the line of scrimmage, like his release. And that's something you don't just pick up and, start playing NFL type corners and all of a sudden, boom, okay, I can get off the line of scrimmage. He struggled a little bit with it at Arizona State, and he basically just got thrown into the receiver rotation in like week 10 last year. Yeah. Give this guy some time to develop a healthy N'Keal Harry. Sam, I'm completely on board.
Yeah, love it.
I know people sometimes worry too. Oh, well, is he injury prone? He's too young to get put in that category. He got hurt.
1 year. He's been in the league for 1 year.
I'm 37, and I'm not injury prone yet. Even though I hurt myself significantly on the daily. So don't put that tag on N'Keal Harry.
No,
I'm more going to the fridge to grab another Truly. I mean, I'm definitely injury prone at this point.
I throw out my hip just based on the different chair I sit in during the day doing my work. Like,
yeah, girl, I wake up with
that old.
Oh man, my RPB game is strong. Random party bruises. So I'll wake up with RPBs and I'm like, where did that come from? I have no idea. Like apparently I ran into the counter. I didn't even know. And it's like a bruise for 2 weeks. I'm like, this should have been gone yesterday. And it's not. It's still there. And it's like a big bruise the size of Montana. So I wear shorts and they're like, oh, you can get help, you know. I'm like, no, don't worry about it.
Oh, I was told today I fell down the stairs.
So bad. But the RPBs are real.
Oh, no, I
may I throw one more receiver out there and I'll
no
keep it short, please.
How dare you? We talking about football today?
Whoopsie. Steven Sims Jr. for the Washington Redskins. And I want you to hear me out. So when we talk about a lot of PPR darlings, right? We want explosive slot receivers that are able to create separation and you can move all over the formation and able to get the ball in their hands in creative ways. Steven Sims Jr. really had a strong finish on a really rough offense to finish last year with Dwayne Haskins being thrown into the fire and just like, hey, figure it out, man, on a terrible football team, a dumpster fire of a team. But, he saw 7 or more targets with 4 or more receptions in every single game over the last 4 weeks of the regular season. And not to mention he scored, I think it was 4 touchdowns in the last 3 games. He can pop big plays. He's also a return dynamo. I just think that the Washington Redskins are likely going to be playing from behind yet again. And if he took and can own that slot position, which traditionally has a high volume of targets on a weekly basis, but can also pop with big plays, he is somebody worth a late dart throw, like really, really late. He is super off the radar because they took 2 wide receivers. Well, one hybrid and Antonio Gibson from Memphis, which is, he really didn't even start seeing significant playing time until his senior year. And then Antonio Gandy Golden, who is a physical freak, kind of like Hakeem Butler, but we just don't know how much he's going to be able to separate at the NFL level. But he's more of an outside threat. He's not a slot guy. So I think that Steven Sims Jr., based what I saw, like to end last season, is worth a guy to put on your radar late in drafts.
I like that. And I'm also we were talking about COVID, and just to kind of make this come full circle, we're talking about COVID, how it's changing all of our lives. Like for me, it's actually changing how I draft. So on those late spots of my team where normally I would make a dart throw and I would pick up a guy, Brandon Ayuk is another name we haven't really brought up too, with the injury to Deebo Samuel, and they're not afraid of using rookie wide receivers on San Francisco 49ers. So that's interesting. But for me, I find myself being super conservative. And I'm going for people like Antonio Brown, because if I'm going to have a dart throw, I want that dart throw to be with an elite superstar. And another one that I'm looking at for my late round drafts that I'm just filling up my bench, Devonta Freeman. He's another one that I'm kind of wanting to put in instead of looking at high flying, dart throws, not to mention that like 4 times in the same sentence. But I don't know if it's just because of the COVID thing that I want to be like super conservative, but if I do have to rely on those guys, and if they don't get signed, whatever, I drop them. They were on my bench anyway. And then I'm going to go to the waiver wire and pick up those guys that we mentioned. I think it's just going to depend on what you feel more comfortable with in your draft. But these are definitely names to not forget ever. Yes. When you see them on the waiver wire, spend some money, go get them. Why not? Especially if you have the room on your bench. Why not? But I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing if you want to look for the handcuff of a handcuff, or the backup of a backup. If you want to play it safe that way too. It just really depends on what your strategy is, who you're playing against. Also remember, your league will dictate what you do at a draft. Sam, I think you and I both know that.
100%. They absolutely will. But I love that you bring up that point with COVID is going to play a role into whatever it ends up being. But one of them is that if you're going to take a late round flyer, and I completely agree with you, I want someone that knows the playbook already.
Yeah.
Maybe he's already been there a season, so he's familiar with the playbook. Maybe he's a bit more of a veteran. He's in a new system, but hey, he's a veteran. They know how to pick up a playbook quickly. So that's not going to scare me away if I know what they're capable of doing. A lot of these rookies, we see the tape, we love them, we get excited, and I'm always going to be excited about new rookies that come in, but they're jumping into the NFL. It's a completely different playbook. They have to learn that system, and they're not getting to practice the way they normally would with this team right now. They're not together.
So hard. I can't even imagine. Like, I've never done anything as scary as being, I mean, clearly, as being a rookie going into the NFL. But if you just look at any new situation that you're going into, if you don't have the experience, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be learning how to, play golf or something. And you're like, it's terrifying. So just imagine that in the high pressure situation when you're Zoom calling. Like, instead of actually taking reps from your quarterback, it is such a disadvantage. And I understand that. And I want all of them to succeed. I don't want anyone to fail. And it just, meh.
No, it's literally like you said, it's learning something completely different over a Zoom call. So, like, we're going to scuba dive today on a Zoom call. Like, what? And then practice it next week. Like, what?
Yeah. And then I'm throwing you in the ocean. Have fun with the shark. Like, what?
No, that's not going to happen. It's not going to be helpful.
That was the hammerhead. I'm pretty sure it tries to eat me. Yeah, that's not fun.
Oh my gosh! And I'm on the clock in our Scott Fishbowl right now. That's so.
Oh, hey, go get it.
I want to take over
who are you considering here? I mean, what round are you in? Like, we need more deep.
Oh my gosh! I think what round is this? I'm in the 12th round, at the 10th pick. And top of the wide receiver ADP ranks that are in the Scott Fishbowl MFL thing are Golden Tate, Rashad Perriman, Sterling Shepard, D.D. Westbrook, Mike Williams, Sammy Watkins, Alshon Jeffrey, and Antonio Brown, Jerry Jeudy. I mean, with this pick, I'm kind of leaning in the Rashad Perriman kind of school of thought right here.
I love that. The Jets have the most vacated targets in the NFL, and when they got rid of Robbie Anderson, they did not replace him with an elite wide receiver that's suddenly going to vacuum up all of these targets. They also added Frank Gore, which gives Le'Veon Bell the opportunity to have a much more increased role in the passing game. But Rashad Perriman flashed in Tampa. It's not like he's a bad player. So I'm very curious to see what is going to happen with him on a team with a healthy Sam Darnold, with a much, much improved offensive line. And again, it's not like Perriman is bad. I mean, the other one they got was like Braxton, but no.
Denzel Mims is somebody they drafted.
Is somebody they drafted, but they also picked somebody up, and I think it was Barrios was his name too. But nothing really shouts out at you except for Rashad Perriman, and he can do it. He did well when he was starting and playing in Tampa. That's when I'm curious. I wonder if he's drafted in my league. I might have to look at that. Now that I say it, I hope no one catches watch.
Right. And then as far as running backs that are available right now too, because I'll do one or the other. Adrian Peterson, Justin Jackson, Duke Johnson, Boston Scott, Jalen Samuels, Nyheim Hines, Malcolm Brown, Latavius Murray, that kind of thing. But based on the running backs that I already have, I think I want to go receiver here because I think that a couple of them might drop. I mean, not to completely show my hand, but I would like to grab Boston Scott on the wraparound.
I just did an article about Miles Sanders and Boston Scott for 2020, and he is very enticing. I like him a lot too. But you do it, girl. Get it.
Yeah.
Do you think?
So I think I might do Rashad Perriman instead of Boston Scott. Is that crazy?
No, not at all.
Not crazy, but I really liked, and I haven't gotten a chance to check out the article yet, Lauren, but I mean, I really like it.
Published, so don't worry.
Whoopsie. Boston Scott really finished the year really strong. And with Doug Peterson's kind of history since he's been in Philadelphia, I mean, they tend to use multiple backs. I mean, don't get me wrong, Miles Sanders
use multiple backs. They lose games when they don't do an RBBC, and that has been proven. They lost 3 games in a row when it was just Miles Sanders as their featured back. So then you bring in Boston Scott, and his snap counts increased by 40%, and he was in the game. Guess what? They won the next 4 games in a row to get into the playoffs. So he uses RBBC because it works. And not only that, Boston Scott was this guy who was drafted by the Saints, signed to the practice squad, then left, and then came back. He played 2 games last year, and yet he was able to come and burst onto the scene because, A, he is a talented player, but this system works well with an RBBC. And the red zone touches are what really concerned me for Miles Sanders and his red zone usage, not only 20s, but 10s and 5s. And in 4 games, Boston Scott was able to do better than Miles Sanders did the entire season. That was very, very telling. But I break all of these down in this article's coming up. So if you're curious about it, hit me up. I'll send you the link when it's finally published. But it was very disconcerting. I was like, oh, damn.
Well, I mean,
making my pick right here very difficult.
Sorry, oh my God. I'm not trying to sway you. But I think you can possibly wait on Boston Scott too. So it depends on what you feel comfortable with your roster. Always, again, two people. Never be too afraid. If you have a guy, get your guy. I mean, don't worry about it. I mean, that's unless it's like you're taking someone who's going in the 15th round, you're taking them in the first. That's bad. But
don't do that.
Especially if you're close where we are, which is at the 103. Sometimes you have to reach for these guys because it's a long time until it's going to come back around to you.
And I'm at that 103 where I'm going to get the short wrap around. So I'm like, okay.
See, and that's a strategy to look at too. I mean, I like being in those ends or beginnings. Like in the middle sucks.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Buried in the middle is the worst draft.
Hard. This is so hard.
I mean, Scott in particular, though. I mean, he was somebody that I had written down for ADP buys. Late round flyers, whatever you want to call it.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing eye to eye on this. I mean, I know that he scored 3 touchdowns in the final game of the season, so it's going to inflate his points per game. But he did average 20 points per game over a 4-week span in PPR formats. And he also, I mean, his target volume, he averaged 5 receptions per game. I mean, I think he had a minimum of 4 each and every single game. So that floor, and like you said, this offense seems to operate much more efficiently with a complementary back, and Scott seemed to fill that role. I know that they talked to Devonta Freeman and offered him a contract, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, they were potentially going to add a veteran. But as of right now, as currently constructed, Boston Scott is a great late-round running back to add in PPR.
Yes, and Doug Peterson said in an interview with NJ.com, he said that they let a, quote, veteran slip through their fingers. That doesn't tell me Miles Sanders is going to be the lead back and we're happy about it. Like,
correct.
That's like, no. So if they don't get a veteran, let's say they don't sign somebody, they're still going to use Boston Scott because he proved himself. So no matter who it is that becomes that second running back, it is going to affect Miles Sanders. And just like you said, if you look at the snap counts, you look at the volume, you look at where these are going, Doug Peterson has never had a running back that gets up to 200 carries.
Right.
And they have not rushed for 1,000 yards. And I think Miles Sanders came close with 818. I mean, that's not like 999. That is, it's a gap. I mean, so if you're going to tell me that he's going to be this RB1 that's going to rush for over 1,000 yards and he's going to be the featured back, which he's never used, nor has that worked for them in the offense, I don't buy this argument. So, wow, I got really impassioned on that.
No. I mean, people want to, Miles Sanders truthers want to overlook the fact that Jordan Howard was incredibly involved to begin last season. And the only reason why Miles Sanders was kind of the pivot guy and got his opportunity as a bell cow back was because Jordan Howard went down via injury. Otherwise, it was a platoon backfield. And that is
another late buy as well. Not a sleeper because everyone knows who he is. But
that article rolled, by the way, on Jordan Howard. Well done. Well played. I'll tell you what, man, that's a good article. I'll tell you, I'm going John Gruden. That's a good article.
I just clicked another one of the tier drop down things and I saw that Zach Moss is still available too. So I'm just like,
oh, that's tough.
Will Jenkins does ask a question that I wanted to get your opinion on, Lauren and Sam. I mean, Raheem Mostert requested a trade, and rightfully so. I mean, he's kind of he's on a special teams contract.
I think he just wants more money. I don't think he really wants to leave.
No, I don't think it was Mostert's idea. I think it was his agent. I honestly, I think
his agent was the one that posted on Twitter.
Yeah, so there you go.
I think this was his agent, like, bro, we need more money. Here's how we do it. Let's stir the pot a little bit and then get some, momentum behind it. And I don't blame the strategy whatsoever, but I don't know if this was Raheem Mostert being like, I have to have this. I want it. I don't get that vibe from it. So I don't know if it was really him. I think it was his agent. So I don't think he goes anywhere.
Yeah,
so do you feel, I mean, Sam, you took him in your Tamagotchi league. I
did.
I love saying that.
Tamagotchi. I did take him and I was really happy with it. And of course the news dropped. I want to say, I think I picked him in the morning and the news dropped for me in the afternoon.
I picked Melvin Gordon last year and then that afternoon found out he was holding out.
Yeah. I mean, but the 49ers, there's going to be production in this backfield. I mean, they finished second on a per game basis in rushing yardage per game. Only
Matt Breida's gone.
Matt Breida's gone.
Correct. Absolutely. So, I mean, let's just put on our tinfoil hats. If it's
oh, I have mine right here.
Is Raheem Mostert, if say he doesn't play, say he holds out, say this is legit. Tevin Coleman, there. Yes, the Tito's 10-foot.
So freaking good.
You look like a
I'm waiting. Continue.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Do you have something to say?
Who is the back to own?
I look like I should be in Star Wars or something.
Pretty.
But is it Tevin Coleman? Is it Michael Hasty? Is it Jeff Wilson Jr.? Is it Jerick McKinnon? I mean, there's got to be value coming out of this backfield. So if Raheem Mostert's out of the picture, which I don't think he is it Devonta Freeman? By the way, he's still a free agent, and he's fully familiar with Kyle Shanahan and that exact system. You know, just a thought.
I feel like it's more – if I had to guess, I would feel like it's maybe more Jerick McKinnon. I don't feel like they had a ton of love for Coleman last year, unless I'm just completely spacing out.
Well, Mostert outplayed him.
Well, yeah, and that's I think Tevin Coleman is an interesting name as well, because you can get him pretty late, and if he gives you a couple weeks of production, I think you've gotten what you need out of Tevin Coleman. There is that history between Shanahan and Tevin Coleman that you can't deny. Same with Devonta Freeman, but Freeman's not on the team, so I don't hate Tevin Coleman, especially since he can be trade fodder, waiver wire fodder, whatever. But I don't hate the idea of taking Mostert, because the way Kyle Shanahan uses that offense, you have to make sure it's the right piece, but are you ever going to know it's the right piece? Just having a piece can give you the opportunity to be a part of some significant fantasy football points. And I'm in. Like, yeah, I love it.
Damn Shanahan's in the running back position. I mean, it dates all the way back to his dad, Mike Shanahan, with the Denver Broncos. I mean, Lindis Gary and Mike Anderson rushed for over 1,000 yards and then disappeared into thin air. So
yeah, so like tree, apple. That's apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
I'm following.
I knew you guys would, but someone would be like, "You're weird." Like, I know. I'm also old, and I bring up stupid things like that.
You're not old. You are very young.
Thank you. Say it again.
You're so pretty and you're so young.
Yay, thank you.
Oh, you have amazing skin, by the way. Just saying, you glow. Like, not to just go completely.
It's an illusion. Thank you, Neutrogena. And lighting.
Derek's like, I have terrible lighting, and Sam makes.
You know what? I have two. I have to figure this out because I have two.
You need a purple fireplace. That's what you need.
Yeah, you need the fireplace. I've got this light over here that like I can dim, and then I can make brighter.
Of a stairway. I mean, it's bad.
I glow in this light.
I'm
this
ruining
is like
the value of this
lighting by Amazon right here.
Oh, girl, Life by Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Life by Amazon. Well, I'm also just realizing there's a bunch of rookies here that are available that I also might want to take, like Jerry Jeudy. So I'm going to sit here and just cry about it and then figure out who I want to draft. Just cry. I guess I'll take them.
I feel you. I'm right there.
This is so hard. Because, yeah, now I'm in that later part of the rounds where, like, okay, I've set this up nicely. Now, who do I want to, like, just pad the team with? And I'm like, but I only want the best. And they're not going to all be there forever.
Yeah, I know. Why am I missing?
The great struggle is trying to figure out whether you want actual quality depth at this point in the draft, or if you want lottery tickets that can hit home runs. I struggle with that, and I always want the upside, which is sometimes why my teams are like paper thin, because I try to hit home runs in the late rounds.
Yeah, this is so hard.
It's bad.
I'm gonna cry. I'm literally gonna cry. No, I don't cry. I literally actually cannot cry unless like I'm watching the Olympics and they're like all the teams are like coming down and they're all together and the teams are all happy. Like, different
or my music video.
I did cry laughing at your music video.
Oh, dude, I can cry. Oh man, no, there's like a commercial, especially like the military ones where like the moms and the dads come home and surprise, like tears, like all sorts of tears. I could Master Chef Junior. I've cried at that show.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. Like,
I love that.
It was like one of them has to go home and they're all like, I love you. You're my new best friend. I'm like, why can't the world be as wonderful as these children? Woo. I do. Sure. I'm emotional. I don't deny it. Either that or
I wish I had emotions. I need more emotions. I don't have enough.
Like that commercial made me cry.
Is there a pill I can take for emotions?
And I'm like, what is this feeling? What is this coming out of my eyes? Is this liquid? Am I tears? Are these tears? What is this? I'm constantly, every year around Christmas time, my friends make fun of me because they call me the Grinch, because I hate like lots of stuff about Christmas. There's a lot I don't like. So they're just like waiting for my heart to someday grow. And I'm like, not this year.
My gosh.
I know.
It's funny. My friends say that about my husband. He's not an animal person. Anyone who knows me, I am. I have a stray cat we adopted. I got 2 dogs, 2 sugar gliders. I mean, I would have any animal under my roof, but my poor husband has to put up with that. But every time we get a new creature, all of our friends are like, "Oh, and Jeff's heart grew 2 sizes." He's like, "Burn your damn cat!" And then when no one's looking, he's like, "I love you, kitty." I'm like, "Yeah, I saw you."
See, I love that. It's so good.
I'm just glad that we're through the 4th of July weekend, because my poor puppy was, fireworks all damn week. And
oh my God. Luckily, one of my dogs is too old and deaf, so he doesn't hear them anymore. Thank God. But my other one is the other Pomeranian, the 3-pound one. He's like, "The struggle was real, Mom." And it's just,
we are under attack, and I don't know what to do.
Do you get the little thunder jackets for them?
Yes, we do have a thunder shirt for Sadie.
Yeah.
I have not gotten one yet, mostly because I look at the price and I'm like, I'm not spending that. Then I just take a blanket and wrap it around him.
I'm just going to sit on you, and then you'll feel safe. You'll be all right.
Yo, not having that.
So good. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Lauren. I feel like we covered so many different things, and it was amazing. And I need to have you on again. Like, I want to get you on one-on-one so we can just get into like full girl drama boy stuff, so that Tate doesn't feel like he has to get into it.
Cut me out of the equation. I'm out of here.
Yes, but no.
I'll remove myself right now.
No. Tate.
Oh, I'm in the middle now.
Now you're in the middle. See?
I see what you did there.
This is what he really wanted. He's like, I want to be in the middle.
Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this. I can't wait to do it again. I had a blast. I always have a fun time with you, Sam. So that's not anything new. But Derek, it was wonderful to virtually StreamYard meet you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
It's not Zoom meeting, but virtually meet you, Derek. I'm sorry you had to put up with this situation.
No, it's fine. I mean, spirits over Boston Scott and Deontay Johnson. I make new friends virtually all the time. So.
It's a fun world that we live in. It's a fun fantasy community that we're all in, and we're all just, I feel like everyone's very welcoming in the fantasy community. I've really enjoyed it. It's been so fun.
I've only gotten once where it was like, "Oh, you're a chick. You don't know about football." I think he was 11 years old. So, there was that. But yeah, agreed.
You just let those breeze by.
I did. I'm like,
woo, do you? I know. That was fun. But anyways, so you have a new article that's going to be coming out soon. Do we know when that's dropping so people can get excited for it?
It should be sometime next week. I would say probably Monday or Tuesday, unless my editor's like trash, which they never do. They are wonderful people. So that should come out early next week. It's just taking a look at what to expect from Miles Sanders. And yeah, there's all sorts of stuff, but you guys can find all of my work, including guest podcasts, all of my articles for both the fantasy footballers and fantasy pros on my website. It's stepmomlauren.com. Just type that right in the URL though, because sometimes when you search Stepmom Lauren, other things pop up that are inappropriate. Luckily, I pushed those down to page 2 or 3. Thank goodness. But in the early formative years of stepmomlauren.com, I got some interesting comments. I think that's where like 1,000 of my followers came from on Twitter. We're like 15-year-old boys not realizing I was not the same Stepmom Lauren.
Oh my goodness.
I'm the redhead. I'm not.
Oh man. But
don't mix it up so that people get the good fantasy football content from
stepmomlauren.com. Fantasy football. Thank you.
Football.
Yes.
Love it.
Speaking of fantasy football, there's also the FF Face-Off, which I believe you wanted. We talked about pre-show with a fundraiser through Hayden Hurst Family Foundation. If you wanted to kind of elaborate on that.
Yeah, so this is run by Michael Hoff and Anthony Servino. They are of the Fantasy Face-Off podcast. Wonderful pair of gentlemen. Been friends with them for a little bit of time. I love them, but they are doing a really special podathon. It's actually happening right now, and they are raising money for the Hayden Hurst Foundation for mental health. So Sam and I are actually going to be hanging out again here in about a half an hour at 3:00 p.m. Eastern. We'll be on there talking fantasy football. And if you go to GoFundMe.com and search Hayden Hurst, you will see the Hayden Hurst Foundation come up. I've already donated about $10. It's whatever it is that you can afford to do. It's been a star-studded lineup on there. And so we're really looking forward to it. I mean, mental health is something that we all are probably dealing with right now. So it's nice to know that we're not alone in this struggle, because the struggle is real and it's nothing to be ashamed of ever. And that's when I think the stigmas that we're trying to get rid of in mental health is that it's something to be scared of, ashamed of, and you're not allowed to talk about it, which is ridiculous.
Absolutely. No, I'm really excited to be part of the Podathon, and they've had so many amazing guests. They've already had Matthew Berry on, Stefania Bell on, and then you said Hayden Hurst is going to be on before us.
I think he's on right now, actually. He's on right now. He's got to be on. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like Hayden Hurst himself. Also, there was an offensive lineman for the San Francisco 49ers was on. I didn't catch his name. It was just like in passing, but just a ton of really, really cool people talking about mental health and how it affects them and how they want to, basically do something to change. I mean, that's all we can do. Even just 2 seconds, 15 seconds of our time can make the biggest changes in the world.
Absolutely. I love that. So guys, if you don't already, please go ahead and follow, subscribe, all the things to Stepmom Lauren that she's putting out, because she's hilarious. And I think most importantly, she knows her stuff. She knows so much and has such a breadth of knowledge that you guys need to just be delving into all of her content. So please go ahead and do that.
Yo, we got to down Alex.
Alex. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Man, good stuff, dude.
Appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. And thank you very much, Sam. I love that. And also this girl too. So it's wonderful to be around such positive and good people and knowledgeable people in the industry, because y'all make me look good. I'm just saying.
We all make each other look good and have fun together, and then we're there together to hold each other's hands when everyone's mad that their pick didn't work out. So at least we've got each other's back in that sense.
I got you, girl. And you dare too.
Yeah, no. I was going to say, I mean, I didn't make it to the Scott Fish Bowl. I also have not been invited to the Podathon. I feel like I'm late to the dance and I'm not invited, but it's fine. No, in all seriousness, though. I mean, like you mentioned mental health awareness and issues right now. Given the coronavirus, everybody is going through their own set of struggles, everybody across the United States of America and really across the world. So, I mean, like, seriously, if you get a chance to go ahead and check out the Hayden Hurst Foundation, if you can give anything, I mean, that's more than appreciated, because it's something that is it can make a real difference in someone's life.
Yes,
absolutely. Definitely. So yeah, thanks again, guys, for tuning in. And if you haven't already, go ahead, please hit subscribe. And Derek and I'll be bringing you more fantasy debate content next Saturday. I think that we are trying to commit to the Saturday evenings. Tate and I tend to move stuff around.
We'll drink, so we can both drink.
So we can both drink. I do intermittent fasting in the morning, so I don't usually start drinking until
Saturday morning ain't stopping me from drinking.
No, I mean, the only thing that's kept
drink all day in the morning.
The only thing that's kept this girl's weight down during quarantine is the intermittent fasting. So I do try and subscribe to that. But I will be drinking some Trulies with you in about an hour. So we'll be there shortly. But guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.